Good evening, everyone. I guess maybe this crowd is not caffeinated as much. Maybe just I'm standing between you and your glass of champagne or glass of beer or whatever makes you happy. Um, but yeah, I think I see some interesting musical instruments over here. I think we can get that going to perk you up as well. But just a quick introduction. My name is Malay Shah, as mentioned earlier. Basically run India, Middle East, Africa, Southeast Asia, Far East for Locus. Locus is a company, just a quick introduction, is a digital native company, so very relevant for this summit. Born in 2015, started out initially as a women's safety app, but over a period of time we pivoted and then currently power last mile supply chain for a lot of e-commerce brands, for retailers, for third-party logistics companies, for a lot of home services companies that you may know of. And if you may not have experienced us directly, believe me, we would be touching your lives in some shape or form, in terms of either the products or services getting delivered at your home. Can I just get a clicker, if I may, just on the slides? I'll just. So what I mean by that is, whether it's some of the large e-commerce companies, thank you so much, like Myntra's, Flipkarts of the world, or whether it is, medicines delivered at your home, like, Tata 1mgs of the world, or whether it is even car maintenance or car testing or eye testing, for example, done at your home, or, sample blood diagnostics, or blood sample collection happening at your home. I think, a lot of those companies basically leverage our solution to power both the experience as well as efficiencies for consumers like us. Now, talking about consumers, let me start quickly by talking about how these consumers are demanding today, and I think we have basically wiped out entire Amazon forest by talking about millennials. So I'll not talk about millennials. I think I would rather talk about Gen Z, and I will talk about the next generation, which probably we are barely talking about, and my daughter falls in that age, which is called snowflake generation. This is a generation which gets offended very easily. This is a generation which is born after 2010, right? And now currently they have not become, buyers of a lot of the brands that we are talking about over here, but they are certainly influencing. They are still choosing their apparels, or they're still choosing, their favorite food products or favorite services right now. Maybe parents are still paying for, what they are liking, but soon, they will enter into that, maybe a few years down the line, they will enter into that age. So let me give you some stats about, both Gen Z as well as snowflake generation. If this consumers have a single bed experience, right? A product not delivered on time. I'm seeing some folks laughing over here. Maybe they are able to relate as maybe either parents or something. But if they have a single bed experience, they would not buy. I mean, at least 54% of them. And by the way, this, the 54%, the remaining 46% is basically Gen X and maybe baby boomers like us over here, right? If you offer to a lot of these customers a flexible shipping option, like a same-day delivery or at best like a next-day delivery, they are likely to buy more from you, right? The third stat, if you are offering a longer shipping time, if people are expecting something, let's say beyond like 7 days, 32% of those consumers are likely to abandon the shopping carts altogether. I mean, this is like lost revenue, and obviously, digital natives don't like to talk about profitability, but obviously, it's an important metric as well. So lost revenue, lost profitability, but the same set of customers, if you are offering them better options, like you can return to a store, or you give them a better return experience, or exchange experience, 47% of them are likely to buy more, right? So clearly, consumers are becoming increasingly more and more demanding. And what's also happening, and especially this is obviously a pivot during the pandemic times, is the fact that consumers like you and me are now part of the supply chains of the organization. I think this is a very important point. Gone are the days when manufacturers used to send something to their distributors and they say, hey, by the way, these distributors are my customers, right? I got the PO from them. I'm basically, they are going to pay for my products or services, and my job is done. No longer. I mean, those days are gone back. I mean, not only like maybe even a decade back, right? Today, your secondary distribution, your tertiary distribution, or for that matter, even consumers like you and me are part of the supply chain, and hence it's very important to design for two important parameters. One is experience, and the second one is the efficiency as part of that last mile of the supply chain. So let me quickly talk about some of the things. All right, so let me walk you through very briefly. What are the important things from a supply chain perspective, right? So one is the fact that the first attempt delivery rates today is very important element of of the supply chain. What I mean by that is the entire experience today is no longer about customers walking into your retail stores. I mean, that's an important part of the experience for retailers, obviously. Everything from merchandising to assortment to the shopping experience that you provide. But today, as the share of, the e-commerce, as it keeps increasing, the delivery experience plays a very important role. So what are the elements of delivery experience? The first important part is first attempt delivery rate. That's a very important matrix that a lot of organizations should start tracking, because it is about managing the deliveries at the time that the customers really need it. So the slot management, and how do you convert your available supply chain capacity into available slots for the customers, or having deliveries done on demand. I think those are the important elements, from a delivery experience perspective that plays a very critical role. The second part that becomes important is some of the premium services which get delivered to consumers' home, right? So what I mean by premium services today is about, there are organizations who are building in the supply chain where they are able to deliver within 5 hours, within the same day. And I'm talking about categories ranging from pharmacy to category ranging from apparels, and obviously furniture is further out, but I mean that probably is into days and weeks. But you're talking about when you're talking about deliveries which are happening within few hours, you're talking about a very rapid experience. So it's and even not just 5 hours. People are then differentiating into delivery happening within 2 hours, deliveries happening within an hour, delivery happening within 30 minutes, and obviously all of us know about that 10-minute kind of delivery also becoming not just a marketing gimmick but a reality as well. And how you are able to charge premium for the deliveries which are happening in a most rapid manner becomes an important element, and how you are able to incentivize the loyal customers with rapid delivery without necessarily at times charging them for that part. So the whole delivery experience becomes a very important element as part of the supply chain experience for consumers. The second part that you see over here on the slide over here is how are you managing and enabling a very important stakeholder in the midst of all of this, which is the riders or the drivers or the fulfillment reps, as you may want to call them, both in terms of making things efficient for them. We all know how bad the address qualities can be in countries like India, Indonesia, maybe even in Philippines. So the first thing is how you are able to guide them to the right to the right customer location, right customer address. Number one. Number two, the fastest way to get there. And by the way, this is not a simple problem to solve, because we are talking about cities like Bangalore, cities like Jakarta, where traffic is worse than weather, and things like when traffic and weather gets combined on days like yesterday, it makes havoc, right? So how are you able to plan your supply chain in a very dynamic manner, allowing for the proper route optimization while still taking care of the customers' SLAs or the requirements which they may have? So that's another important element which comes into picture. The third is, your riders in some sense are equivalent to your store reps. You want to provide the right experience again to the customers, whether it is in terms of delivering fresh foods, whether it is, meat or seafoods or ice creams. There is one type of service that you need to provide. If you're delivering furniture, there is another type of service that you need to provide. If you're delivering apparels where you need to take some returns while you are delivering the apparels, you need to deliver a different type of service altogether. So that becomes an important element as well. So the whole rider experience and enabling riders not just to do a transaction, not just to do a drop and move out, but to really drive the experience so that the customers are able to get a similar experience as they are able to get, let's say, in store, is becoming a very, very critical element, from a last mile supply chain perspective. And the last point that I would like to mention is the topic, obviously, is of this session has been how do you turn your last mile exceptions into last mile experience, right? And an important element over here is, again, things like easy returns. Returns is still a big headache. Brands are able to get the entire brand, the consumer equation, the STP proposition, all of that absolutely correct. But when it comes to returns, even some of the largest companies are not able to design the whole returns experience, and they need to have a separate team for your reverse logistics and a separate team for your forward logistics. I'll just take a minute and maybe close it. So that part of the journey becomes an important element as well. So I'll leave with just one last thought is the fact that last mile is, as I mentioned, two important elements become important. Last miles are increasingly part of supply chains of organization. We are a B2B SaaS software company which enables this for a lot of organizations, ranging from Unilevers of the world to Nestle's of the world to Bukalapak, for example, in Indonesia, to Licious, to Big Baskets of the world. So chances are that you would have experienced us on a day-to-day basis when things are getting delivered at your doorstep. We take care of consumer experience and efficiency, and we try to solve this from a mathematical standpoint to make it perfect for the organizations as well as consumers like you and us. Any other questions? I mean, if there's a time, we can take it. Otherwise, we'll hand it over back to the organizers. Thank you.